And welcome back to Overtime Fantasy, where we go beyond the whistle to bring you home a fantasy championship. I'm Tyler Jeffries. I'm here with Phil Corella, Dan, and Mike. Mike, for the first time, they're both on Scout Team. Dan, a recent resident of the Scout Team.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to a lot of me and you for the next couple podcasts, I believe.
God, I think it's...
That's fine, man. I ain't worried about it. Those guys have a lot going on. I mean, it's kind of different when you realize that you put family in front of our podcast, but it's cool. It's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What kind of excuse is that, fellas? Like, we need you here. We need you to get this podcast rolling.
I wonder if there's a question that we could ask Dan in this podcast to see if he actually listens to it.
Hey, Dan, how many losses are you going to take this year? I mean, I see you're about to sneak out a win, but your team is basically trash can.
I'm going to ask you this question, Dan. Dan, me and you are going to make a trade, and you're going to accept it no matter what, right? Correct? Okay, cool. Give me that response if you hear this podcast.
Yeah, he has to send you his best player for your worst player.
Right. That's it.
That's it. That's all.
If you don't listen to this podcast, I get your best player, you get my worst.
Yeah, I think that's a fair.
That's a fair
assumption.
It's a fair trade.
He's going to be painting lines. Like that's Dan's new thing. He likes painting lines.
All right, so here we're going to talk a little bit today about waiver wire for week 6.
But before we get into that, how'd you feel about Sunday?
I didn't feel too good about it, honestly.
It was a weird week.
I felt bad for telling everybody to sit, Gardner and DJ Chark, and if you did, they definitely tore it up. So I feel, I feel a little bit responsible, but at the same time, I don't think a lot of people saw that coming from Carolina's defense. But
yeah,
I don't know. It was a tough week for me, anyways. I don't know how you feel about it, but it was a tough week for me.
Well, I think what was more tough about it for me was my team's pretty much performed, except for the one in our league against Josh. My team underperformed yet again with DeAndre Hopkins crap in the bed.
I was going to say, how do you feel about him?
I don't want to trade him, but
why not? I'll give you Mike Evans for him straight up.
I'm not
because I'm not happy with him either.
I'm not doing that, Phil. I can't do that. But other than that, like I faced people that had almost 200-point scores in every league.
Yeah.
One league, a guy put up 225 points on me. He had Deshaun Watson. He had DJ Chark in. It's a PPR league. He had I have Christian McCaffrey. He had Leonard Fournette. He had Aaron Jones. No, he had him on his bench, but he had Amari Cooper and he had Philly's defense.
Jesus.
I mean, it was a slaughter. I felt like the Cowboys yesterday. There was wanted posters all around saying there was a man connected with 53 homicides in Dallas, and it was the sketch of Aaron Rodgers.
And that's the thing; he didn't even do anything.
No,
he didn't do anything.
That sketch should have been Aaron Jones.
That's the other thing I was completely wrong about yesterday.
I
said Aaron Jones ain't going to do anything.
God.
I said he won't. I said he. Well, I mean, when we were making our pick'ems, we were like, I'm going to pick the Cowboys, and who do you like in the matchups? I said I like Aaron Rodgers this week, and I got blah blah. I really don't like Aaron Jones.
Man, Aaron Jones.
I did not see that coming.
Like, think about this. You could have put a lineup in yesterday. Deshaun Watson, Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Chark, Amari Cooper, Will Fuller.
You could have had like $10,000 left over to spend and still had like the winningest team and won a whole bunch of money.
That's the worst, though, is when you get done with your roster, like, I like this, but then you see you got like 4,000 left, and you're like,
ooh,
I'm about to get one of these top players.
Yeah, I can upgrade.
Yeah, it always bites me in the butt. Like, I did that yesterday with the Colts game, and I had Pringle in, and I checked, and I saw I saw I had like $1,500 left, and I was like, I'm gonna go go pick up Naheem Hines, like, just in case Marlon Mack doesn't play. And boy, was I wrong. If I had put Pringle in, I would have won some money. Like, I'm big money, Phil.
Well, at least you didn't have Will Fuller in 2 of your lineups and then take him out.
Yeah, that's rough.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
It's very rough. Dude, and all right, so talking about a stat real quick, talking about Aaron Jones again. Do you know the other Packer running back that recorded the last Packer running back to record 4 touchdowns in a game?
Was it Eddie Lacy?
No. We're taking it back to when you were a young pup.
Young pup.
When you were a young pup.
Oh, probably not. I don't know.
All right. Dorsey Levens.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
Okay, cool. But yeah, that's the last time a Packer running back has rushed for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I've never heard of Dorsey. That's a good name. That's a good football name.
I'm so disappointed.
Your Bucks almost pulled it off. They look somewhat good. Jameis Winston, he's had a couple back-to-back solid weeks.
It came down to like fourth quarter garbage time, really, to save his day, and also with Godwin, because Godwin he had a nice stat line, and he's been shocking the heck out of a lot of people, especially me. I mean, I said, okay, Godwin, I predict him to have maybe like 8 or 9 points a week, but I didn't think he was gonna have like 20.
Yeah, that's also why I won't trade you DeAndre Hopkins straight up for Mike Evans.
Why
because
not?
Mike Evans is not the number one anymore.
And he had 1 target yesterday.
Yeah, Chris Godwin's the number one in Tampa.
So it looks
and
like.
I think it's not that he's better than Mike Evans. I think what it is
it's
last
the
year,
Juju
it's
the Juju
syndrome.
I'm serious. I told man that is real.
You know,
I don't care what you say, but that is real, man.
My dad in our league traded Juju Smith-Schuster straight up for Chris Godwin. That was a good trade for him.
Yeah.
And looking back when he did it, I was like, "You're dumb. I don't understand it. You're trading a guy that was a first round pick for a guy that was third or fourth, and like I don't understand why you're doing this." And he came to my room yesterday.
Because
and he was like,
he knows the Juju syndrome.
He came to my room yesterday. He was like, "Anything else you want to say about Chris Godwin?" I'm like, "Nah, like I'll trade you for him."
He said, "Shut it, Dad.
I'll give you DeAndre Hopkins straight up for him."
Yeah.
So, any other games that you saw yesterday that you just, you loved?
Honestly, I just really like seeing Christian McCaffrey just go buck crazy.
He led the Panthers in total yards.
I know. You know, he has more rushing yards than Gurley and Zeke combined.
Yeah, he has what 835, and Zeke and Gurley combines like 810. I saw that stat pop up today. That's ridiculous. Man. I mean, that's seriously ridiculous. And then another guy that had a ridiculous game was Deshaun Watson. I mean, he just had the game of his career.
5 touchdowns.
5 touchdowns, over 400 yards. I mean, that was
somebody called it. Yes. I think it was me.
I think it was you, Phil.
I called it.
You called that. And that
was my start of the week.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah.
So, no.
Other than that, I mean, who shocked me again was Josh Jacobs. I was not expecting that out of him. I mean, that was the only time I said bench him because that's my boy. But hey, going up against the Bears defense, who would have thought that would happen? Not me.
You want to know a crazier stat line that surprised me more than Josh Jacobs?
Hold on, let me think. Go ahead.
All right. Me and Kinder's going to appreciate this when he listens back to this, but did you know that the Chicago Bears only touched Derek Carr 1 time yesterday?
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
So there's a reason why Gruden was doing some kind of like disco shuffle at the end of the game then.
Yeah, I mean the thing is,
Khalil Mack didn't do anything, huh?
Khalil Mack had a sack. Well, he didn't even have a sack. It was a
quarterback hurry.
Yeah, he hit him. Oh, he ate him alive. But Derek Carr said in his press conference, he goes, to play against a defense like that and to be only hit 1 time, touched 1 time.
Yeah.
He goes, my favorite. Because they were asking him, they're like, what was your favorite signing in the offseason? He goes, Brown. He goes, and it's not Antonio Brown like y'all think. It was Trent Brown because I have not been touched in the offensive line. We've revamped this offensive line. So
that's very smart.
That was the biggest stat I took away from that.
Give your offensive line credit. That'll last you a long time.
Yeah. You want to get on to some of these waiver wires and streams?
Yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, there's really not much to talk about with the waiver wires.
Running backs.
Running backs is what it is right now.
Yeah, you're just picking up handcuffs right now. You know, guys that have shown that they're getting some touches here lately. Like that's what these waiver wires are. They're stashes. They're not more like I'm picking them up and starting them right now.
Right. I mean, honestly, it's slim pickings out there. When I say slim, it's just because there's no injuries to announce. There's nothing to really come forward and say, hey, you know, this guy's completely going to be out of the game next week. Start him. It's just not in the cards this week. So let's go ahead and we'll jump on him. First one is Chase Edmonds. He had a solid game yesterday for the Cardinals.
His touches have been increasing over the weeks too.
Right.
It's not. It's I think
in the pass game, right?
yeah, passing game and rushing game.
Yeah,
he's
so
just,
he's
been
actually
rotating in and out.
he's taking some away from Johnson, huh?
Yeah, he's rotating in and out more, and I kind of like that better for Johnson because, I mean, he just looks like he's out of breath out there sometimes.
Right. Okay. Because that's true.
So another guy, Jordan Wilkins, we saw last night.
He was running pretty good, man. I mean, I like Mac. Mac was very patient last night, running the ball.
Kind of looked like a mini Le'Veon.
I was saying that to myself last night. I was saying, man, he's actually jump cutting and being real patient like Le'Veon. And once he sees the hole, he's exploding.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was a hurt ankle thing that actually helped him.
Well, when Marlon Mack came into the league, I told everybody he wasn't going to fit our scheme just because he is a patient running back just like Le'Veon Bell, and we had the worst offensive line in the league, and he was not going to – that's when we had Frank Gore in front of him.
Right.
So, Jordan – I thought Naheem Hines would have been the guy to relieve Marlon Mack, but he's only relieving him in passing down situations. They look like they're trying to ground and pound that ball, so they're going to throw Jordan Wilkins in there. So if Jordan Wilkins is out there, you have a stash spot, I would pick Jordan Wilkins up.
I agree. All right, so go ahead and talk about the next guy.
So if Saquon is going to miss any time, and I don't know if he is, it's probably not a waiver wire ad. It's probably a wait till waivers clear kind of thing.
Yeah.
But John Hilliman, as soon as Wayne Gallman went down, he came in there and got 9 touches. So if Saquon's going to miss any more time, I would go ahead and pick him up. He's going to be worth it. I mean,
it looks like Barkley will be back.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of telling me not to go waste a waiver. If you're on like a back half, like if you're 10 through 12, I mean, just throw a claim in there for him.
Let's put it this way: if the Giants were, like, let's say this was a playoff time, and the Giants were in the playoffs, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's not going to happen. But if it was a playoff game, I think Barkley would have played. I think he would have played yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, all the workouts that he's doing the.
He's a freak.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature.
They say he's not human, and I'm starting to believe it.
You want to talk about the next guy?
Yeah, all right. Alexander Madison from the Vikings. He's honestly that 1-2 punch could be scary. Like if Dalvin Cook ever starts to, if he ever gets hurt again, which I hope he doesn't, because that's my boy, but he might not get his job back. Yeah. I like the way this dude runs, man. He's very physical. He's quick, and
we were watching the game yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, come on, Dalvin!" You're like, "That's not Dalvin. That's Alexander Madison." I'm like,
"You're like what?"
They look the exact same. Their styles of running are very similar. Like that is the perfect handcuff for guy, and he's getting touches. Like they're when well,
he's making the best out of them too. That's the thing. Like he gets in and he actually produces with his touches.
He's breaking off a 10-yard run. He's hitting the hole for 7.
Yeah, sometimes
hitting a 25-yarder. So I mean, he's a guy that I wouldn't start unless you have to. Like you're hit by all these buys and you need to have like a flex kind of guy. Then you stick it, but that's a weak flex. But that's a guy that you pick up just in case any injuries happen, or if any, like, I wouldn't even say injuries. If he tweaks something, I mean, just, and they're like, oh, we want you to just sit out one game, like, pick him up. So, that's it for running backs, man. Like we said, it's very slim.
Very quick, to the point.
Very slim. Wide receivers.
Let's get to it, man. Mohamed Sanu.
Ooh, that's your boy. You've been talking about him a lot here lately.
He's producing.
He is producing.
He's producing. And he had 5 targets this week. He had 12 the week before, 6 targets the week before that, 7, and then another 6. I mean, he's getting a lot of targets. And they are trying to do everything. The defenses that are facing the Falcons are trying to do everything they can to prevent Ridley and Julio Jones from beating them.
Yeah.
So that leaves the Juju syndrome, which I'm going to just throw it out there.
That's the new terminology for this. It's the Juju syndrome.
We'll just call it the Juju syndrome, which is the number 2 syndrome. You cover the heck out of your number 1, and your number 2 is good enough to become fantasy relevant.
Are we going to get to a point where we start picking number 2 wide receivers over number 1 wide receivers?
I'm about to. I'm about to just start trading all my number 1 wide receivers and get number 2s.
Instead of Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Jarvis Landry, Josh Gordon, just give me Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, and
Edelman. I'll be good with that.
Yeah, just give me that. I'll be very happy with that.
Very happy with that.
Another guy, I like Antonio Callaway. That's a guy that I think he's going to have a bit. This is before the game's playing right now, so I'm just calling my shot right now. I think this is going to be a huge game for Antonio Callaway.
Okay.
I think he's coming back, and I think he might put up 100 yards and a touchdown.
All right. The Juju syndrome?
This is more like Danny Amendola syndrome, I think, with Tom Brady.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna bust out these two wide receivers. The Miami Dolphins, they have to throw to somebody.
They have to.
And they have been throwing to these guys, Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. These guys are the only ones getting targets, really. So if you are struggling and you have wide receivers that go on a bye week next week, they play the Redskins, which is a favorable matchup for them. But even if it isn't, they're still producing 7 to 8 targets a game.
Yeah. So
go ahead and grab them and stash them in there, and maybe if you're really struggling, play one.
Like you said, so they got to throw the ball to someone, and if they're not throwing it to the other team, they got to throw it to somebody on their team.
Yeah.
So Devontae Parker and Preston Williams has really been surprising me here lately. He seems like he's like Josh Rosen's go-to kind of guy.
It seems like he's his favorite target, right?
And then
and Parker hasn't had under 5 points this year for a receiver. So
he's catching touchdowns. He's a big threat in the red zone.
Actually catching the ball.
Yeah, that's something that he has struggled in the past, is catching the ball. He had stone hand disease, so
he had stone denitis.
Yeah, another guy, Willie Snead, for the Baltimore Ravens. He had 5 targets, 4 receptions, or 5 receptions. I think it was 4, and he had like 50 yards. But the targets are going there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to throw it to somebody. Hollywood, I know he's a burner. Nobody's going to keep up with him kind of thing. But I mean, Willie Snead looked like the guy that if Hollywood can't get the ball to him.
I think Willie Snead is like Sanu.
Yeah, that's
what
exactly
I see.
What it is.
Okay.
So that's a guy like he's not owned in a lot of leagues. You could pick him up, and bye weeks are coming. We're already starting to get hit by him with this past week. Pick him up. Might have to start him as a flex. I mean, that'd be a solid flex with the particular matchups.
Yeah, and Byron Pringle. I mean, we talked about him earlier in the podcast. If you had him in your fantasy in a DFS last night, if you had him in a FanDuel lineup or DraftKings, I mean.
Good on you.
You won some money, man.
Yeah.
That's just if you had Patrick Mahomes as your MVP, and then if you just said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna make a crazy lineup, and I'll put Pringle as your MVP," you won money somehow.
If you had Pringle, Jordan Wilkins, Patrick Mahomes, Jacoby Brissett, and
Mac,
I don't know if you would be able to get Mac in there
with Pringle. You might have.
You might, but if you're able to get all that, wow. Good on you.
Yeah, seriously, man.
So, I did like Pringle. Pringle made the most of his, catches. And with Tyreek Hill being out, Sammy Watkins battling that injury, somebody's going to have to step up. McCall Hardman hasn't stepped up these past couple of weeks, which I was surprised about. And DeMarcus Robinson, I mean, he's trying to get that ball there, but every team knows that that's where he's going to go. So that leaves Pringle wide open. I mean,
I think the Colts just had a really good game plan for them. They were playing lights out with the way that their secondary, how banged up it was for them to actually go out there and kind of they did. They contained Mahomes.
They started the game off with a cornerback at safety,
right.
And then the corner got hurt, and they put in the last corner that they had.
He got hurt.
He got hurt, and luckily that he was able to call a timeout and get back on the field. If he wasn't, they would have had to throw a linebacker.
Right, I know, it's
in the
crazy.
Game. And everybody was talking about how the Chiefs were riddled with injuries and all that stuff, and everybody forgets how bad that defense was just riddled. With no Malik Hooker,
I feel like
Darius Leonard.
The Chiefs just did not want to run the ball last night.
Oh yeah, that's.
They tried to throw the ball on first, second, and third down sometimes. It's like they just didn't do it.
Every time they tried running the ball, Justin Houston was eating them up. Kahir Willis was eating them up, and so was Turay before he broke his ankle. So I think they had a very good game plan. Like I said, I think the Raiders, with their loss to the Raiders, I think they were looking ahead to this game because it was a big time game, and they kind of did their thing last night. So.
Yeah, well, definitely Pringle will be a guy to pick up and stash for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Let's get on to some streaming quarterbacks.
We'll stream it real quick.
But before we do that, a guy that you should pick up, start.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Gardner Minshew, and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Those guys you need to pick up right now. I'm surprised Josh Allen's owned in less than 50% of leagues.
Well, I think they dropped him just because he had to play the Patriots. Because I had him, and then I dropped him because he was going to play New England.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have dropped him because after this bye, he plays Miami, Philly, Washington, Cleveland, Miami, Denver.
Yep, that's why I'm going to get ready to pick him back up.
You're not picking him back up.
Why not?
Because he's already getting picked up.
I'm not talking about for your league.
Oh.
I'm not talking about for the league that Matt. Well, actually, I'm 0-4. I could actually care less. I'm 0-5. I could care less.
I'm texting Brian.
Okay, fine.
I'm texting Brian telling him to pick it up.
You're scared. You ain't afraid
I was about
of
to
me.
say Byron, just like Byron Pringle.
Byron.
So,
Byron.
But no, those two guys you need to pick up. Those guys are actually worth a waiver claim. And so is, if you're going to look for tight end, Gerald Everett.
And Tyler Higbee.
The Rams tight ends.
Yeah, it seems like they're
ramming that ball towards them.
They're trying to. I see what you did there.
Yeah,
that was good. I like that. That was clever. It just seems like they're trying to get those guys more involved because they're focusing so much on everybody else that they have because they have on
Kupp, Woods, Cooks, Gurley. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna worry about all those guys, and if Higbee and Everett are the reason I lose, so be it.
So be it.
So,
all right, so streaming quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater is one to own. I mean, he threw 4 touchdowns against the Buccaneers defense that we actually thought was fairly decent against the pass.
Yeah.
I say that he's actually coming into his own in the absence of Drew Brees, so pick up Teddy Bridgewater. That's a good streaming option this week.
Okay. Another guy, Kyle Allen, if you're really hurt, he's going against Tampa.
Just got shredded.
He just got shredded, and not to mention, he doesn't have to beat everybody going downfield. All he has to do is just drop it off to Christian McCaffrey. So
I mean, I would be a little bit weary about that one.
Just a little bit.
Just because he has potential still to turn the ball over. That's all I'm saying.
I'm thinking he probably has an interception this game. I'm thinking 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and maybe a fumble.
I can see that D-line kind of getting after him a little bit.
I mean, that's still going to be 18 to 20
right.
points.
I mean, I think his floor would be 14.
I would think it was 16 for me, just for me.
Okay.
I think 16. I think 16.5 is his
I think
floor.
his ceiling is like 20.
See, mine's about 24, 25.
All right, so
it's about right.
It's
there.
in that area.
It's right there.
All right, so those are the 2 streaming options that we have for Week 6. There's going to be more options and availability out there for
if you have,
after this coming up week. But if you are in a jam, and you
don't you say his name.
Don't
say his name.
I'm gonna have to say it.
Don't say it.
If you're in a jam, the Dolphins Redskins game. Either Colt McCoy or Dwayne Haskins could be a potential start. That's all I'm saying. I understand that one of them might get pulled and
someone
all
could
that.
Get pulled.
They could get pulled, but with the firing of Jay Gruden, maybe the game plan changes, and maybe Colt McCoy comes out there and just lights it up, or maybe they just say, "Hey, Dwayne Haskins, go out there and just throw some bombs. We'll see what happens." This is the only time I'm saying to start or stream anybody from the Redskins. Okay, that's it.
Okay, and if you're in a league and you have somebody, obviously we're going off the percentages and leagues owned. If you have a guy like Jacoby Brissett, sometimes Kyler Murray's out there, guys like that, pick them up, play them in the right matchups. I know the Colts, the Raiders, and Broncos are all on a bye. I'm sure there's another.
Oh no,
team.
not the Broncos. I thought you were talking about I thought you were talking about Flacco.
Oh no, but I know the Colts and the Raiders are on a bye. I know there's another team out there. I can't think of the name right now off the top of my head, but just play the matchups. Look at your team, and if you have any questions, make sure you go to overtimefantasy.com and we'll answer it. If you have you could literally send us the whole list of your waiver wire, and we will tell you who to pick up.
Yeah, we'll hook you up, man.
So that's just an option. Let's get on to some of these streamable defenses.
All right, one that I think everybody, which I don't think a lot of people will have this team available, but if you do, and you see the Cowboys out there,
got to pick them.
They're going up against the Jets, and
I think Sam Darnold is going to come back this week. And that kind of, like, if it was Falk, I'd be like, must start.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the Jets. But I think with Darnold coming back, that's going to open up the passing game a little more, which opens up the run game for Le'Veon Bell. So, but speaking of the Jets, I mean, they've got good matchups coming up. And not to mention, you were telling me a stat earlier, Phil, about the Jets defense.
They have yet to produce anything under 12 points.
Which is crazy because they've been
getting blown out. So, like, for instance, okay, they played the Browns the other week in week 2, and they lost 23-3. They still produced 12.55 points. Now, going into the next week against New England.
Where they got throttled.
Yeah, exactly. And they put up 19 points. Okay? That's what I'm saying, and that's what intrigues me the most. And then they just got demolished this past week against the Eagles.
It was really 31-0. They got lucky with those 6 points.
So 31-6, they lose, and they still put up 14 points.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's ridiculous. So they have the potential to get you some points, turnovers, or whatever they're doing. So, and then in the next coming weeks, from week 8 to week 11, they have Jacksonville, Miami, the Giants, and Washington. You're gonna want to pick up and stash them and play them in those weeks.
Yeah.
So that's the other one we got, and then one that could be tricky. This is probably the one that I'd not really recommending that much, but the matchup, you can't deny it. That Josh Rosen will throw some interceptions, maybe sack fumbles and all that stuff. The Washington Redskins could be a good option to plug in this week for defense. If you're really struggling, you have nobody else available, and you're not knowing who to start, that could be a questionable option there.
Well, the thing is they just played the Patriots, put up 10 points, and they lost 33-7.
There you go.
The week before, they lost 24-3 against the Giants, put up 15 points. And the week before that, they played Chicago, lost 31-15, put up 11 points.
So there you go.
It's the same thing with the Jets. They've had a couple games where they finished less than 6 points, but I mean they're playing against Miami. The matchups there, and not to mention Miami's given up the most points to defenses.
Yep. The other one that I got is Tampa going up against the Panthers. We talked about it a little bit earlier that they have the potential to cause a few turnovers. When they played them a couple weeks ago, they were in Carolina, and they put up 17 points. That was with Cam Newton. I know it was an injured Cam Newton or whatever, but I still think that there's potential there to kind of get after the quarterback a little bit, get some sacks, maybe get a fumble, turnover. We'll see what happens, but that'd be my last option there.
Yeah. Hey, guys, that's all we have. I mean,
that's short to the point. I mean, it's a easy waiver wire type of a week. Be sure to tune in. We're gonna do another podcast on Friday. It'll be out there for you guys on Saturday.
Starts and sits.
It starts and sits.
Make sure you listen to that, because when you come in Sunday and you have like a lot of questions and everybody hits us at once with all those questions, sometimes we overlook. We try not to.
Yeah.
And you have to leave. We can't answer it right then and there. 90% of the time, your questions are already answered on our podcast.
Correct.
And if you just go and listen to it, you can find it on overtimefantasy.com. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, a whole bunch of platforms. The only platform we're not on, you can go to your Alexa device right now and say, hey, and then say that name. Can you play the latest episode of Overtime Fantasy on iHeartRadio? It's popping up. You can listen to it while you're in the shower.
I love that radio.
That's a pretty good radio.
I heart it.
So now just follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and go to our website and ask a question. Listen to the podcast. Give us some feedback. Just check it out. Might have a giveaway coming up soon. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, give us some Hoosker do's and Hoosker don'ts. What you like and what you don't.
Yeah, but other than that, Phil, you got anything else?
I don't got anything else, man. I think we nailed that like split hog.
We split that hog. And Dan and Kenner, you got anything else to say other than crickets?
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. So
punks.
Y'all have a good one. Be safe, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Good luck. God bless.